The Florida Joint Civics360 presents Articles 1, 2, and 3. The President, Congress, and the Supreme Court. What do they do? Where can we find their official powers? Where do these roles and responsibilities fit into the three branches of government? We'll address all three of these questions in the video as we explore the three branches of government. After watching this video, you'll be able to recognize the structure of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Compare the roles and responsibilities of the three branches of the federal government, and identify the general powers described in Articles 1, 2, and 3 of the U.S. Constitution. So let's begin. The U.S. Constitution is divided into a preamble, articles, and amendments. The articles are the section of the document that describe the powers and functions of the government. There are 7 articles in the U.S. Constitution. Article 1 focuses on the legislative branch. Article 2 lists the powers of the executive branch, and Article 3 describes the powers of the judicial branch. So let's begin with Article 1, the legislative branch. House of Representatives, Senate, Senator, Congresswoman. You've probably heard all of these terms before, or at least some of them. They are all part of the legislative branch. To understand the legislative branch, let's begin with the Constitution. Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution describes the structure and powers of the legislative branch. The Constitution outlines that the United States will have a two-house or bicameral legislature. This includes the House of Representatives and the Senate. Together, these two houses are known as Congress. Members of the House of Representatives are known as representatives or congressmen or congresswomen. Members of the Senate are known as senators. And together, their responsibility is to make laws for the country. Article 1 provides the enumerated or listed powers of Congress. These include the power to collect taxes, coin money, make rules about citizenship, regulate trade, create an army and a navy, impeach and remove public officials, approve presidential appointments, ratify or approve treaties, and declare war. We've learned quite a bit about Congress so far, so let's check in. Try to answer the following question in your own words. According to Article 1 of the Constitution, what is the main role and responsibility of Congress? The main role and responsibility of Congress, the legislative branch, is to make laws. Let's recap what we've learned so far before we get to Article 2. Article 1 covers the structure and function of the legislative branch. This is called Congress, and its main responsibility is to make laws. It's made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. The enumerated or listed powers of Congress include collecting taxes, coining money, making rules about citizenship, regulating trade, creating an army and a navy, impeaching public officials, approving presidential appointments, ratifying or approving treaties, and declaring war. So that's Congress, the legislative branch. But what about the executive branch in Article 2? The powers and structure of the executive branch are found in Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. The executive branch includes the President, the Vice President, and executive departments. According to Article 2, the main role and responsibility of the executive branch is to enforce the laws passed by the legislative branch, Congress. But what about the powers of the executive branch? What are they, according to Article 2? Article 2 gives the President a number of powers. As Commander-in-Chief, he has the ability to send the armed forces into combat, though Congress declares war. And as the head diplomat, he makes treaties or agreements with other nations. These must be approved by the Senate if they actually agree with the treaty. The President also has the power to nominate people to serve in high government positions, such as in his cabinet, and those are the folks who head up the executive departments and act as his advisors, and justices of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States. The Senate must confirm presidential nominations if they agree with them. The President also has the power to grant pardons or formally forgive someone for a crime. Those are quite a few powers of the President. Let's go ahead and summarize them to make sure we know them. So according to Article 2, in addition to nominating people to serve in high government positions and grant pardons, the President can also make treaties with other nations and command the military. But his main responsibility is to enforce the laws passed by the legislative branch, Congress. Let's check in. Try to answer the following question in your own words. According to Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, what is the main role and responsibility of the executive branch? According to Article 2 of the Constitution, the main role and responsibility of the executive branch is to enforce the laws passed by the legislative branch, Congress. We've learned quite a bit about what Article 2 is about so far, so let's recap what we've learned. Remember that Article 2 establishes the structure and powers of the executive branch. And the executive branch is made up of the President, the Vice President, and the executive departments. The main responsibility of the executive branch is to enforce the laws passed by Congress. And the powers of the President include the ability to command the military as Commander-in-Chief, negotiate treaties with other countries, nominate people for office, and grant pardons. So we've discussed Article 1 and Article 2. Let's take a look now at Article 3. Article 3 describes the judicial branch of government. The judicial branch includes the U.S. Supreme Court and the lower courts. Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution names only the Supreme Court and allows Congress to create, remove, or modify the federal lower courts and the number of justices on the Supreme Court. The main role and responsibility of the courts is to interpret the law. This means they consider constitutionality. Does a law or action violate the Constitution? According to Article 3, the Supreme Court has the power of original jurisdiction. This means that they're the first to hear cases involving arguments between two states, the United States government, ambassadors, and issues concerning the Navy or other sea-related issues. The Supreme Court also has appellate jurisdiction, which means it hears cases that were first heard in the lower courts. Ultimately, however, remember that the Supreme Court is trying to determine constitutionality, or whether something violates the Constitution. Let's check in. Try to answer the following question in your own words. What does it mean when it's said that the Supreme Court addresses issues around constitutionality? This means that the Supreme Court is considering whether something violates the Constitution. Let's recap what we've learned so far. Article 3 describes the structure and powers of the judicial branch. This branch is made up of the U.S. Supreme Court and federal lower courts. The role and responsibility of the judicial branch is to determine if something is constitutional, and the Supreme Court has both original and appellate jurisdiction. We've learned a lot about Articles 1, 2, and 3, and something about the three branches of government. So let's see if we can compare them. Try to complete the chart as it appears on the screen. According to Article 1 of the Constitution, what is the structure of the legislative branch, and what is its main responsibility? The legislative branch is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and its main responsibility is to make laws. According to Article 2 of the Constitution, what is the structure of the executive branch, and what is its main responsibility? The executive branch is made up of the President, the Vice President, and executive departments, and its main responsibility is to enforce the laws passed by Congress. According to Article 3, what is the structure and main responsibility of the judicial branch? The judicial branch is made up of the Supreme Court and lower federal courts, and its main responsibility is to interpret the laws. So we've learned quite a bit about Articles 1, 2, and 3, and we know that they provide the structure and powers of the three branches of government. But be sure to view the module for benchmarks 7.c.3.3 and 3.9 on the structure, powers, and processes of the federal government to learn more about each of the three branches. This video is produced by the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship. Thanks for watching.